Hi, welcome to Unsung Heroes, the show I've just started on YouTube, which gives musicians who probably don't have enough coverage a chance to tell their story. Today's guest is a dear friend of mine and somebody I've been privileged to work with for many years on various projects. Mr. Mike Summerland. Michael, how are you?
Hi, Paul.
Nice to see you, mate. Nice to see
And
you.
you.
Now, Mike, I was reading your bio and I noticed that it all started for you in '66, which is a pivotal year, and your first band was formed at school, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. By that time, I'd been playing 2 years. I started learning in '64, and carry on.
The thing was, what I also noticed there is, that year being so many musical landmarks in '66. I mean, and cultural ones too. It must have been a very exciting time to be able to pick up a guitar and start playing in a band.
Absolutely, 100%. It really was. I was just soaking it all up because there was so many new things happening that I was aware of. It was just a very, very exciting, stimulated time.
Can you remember the first tune that you played with the band, your first band? Can you remember what it was? Or tunes, maybe, would be better description.
Well, one of them was the Yardbirds' current hit at that time, The Shapes of Things.
Oh, wonderful, yeah.
That song kind of helped me get into the band.
Yeah.
Because I got approached at school by the bass player, and he said, "You're Mike Summerland, aren't you?" And he said it in a slightly menacing way. And I thought, I'm going to get beaten up here. And he said,
I don't like the Yardbirds.
He said, we've heard that you can play the solo to Shapes of Things. I said, yeah, that's right, I can.
Yeah.
He said, well, we're looking for another guitar player. The other guy's gone. Do you want to come and have a rehearsal with us at the drummer's house? I said, yeah, without thinking about it, yeah. And I went along and had a jam with them. We played some songs and had a good time. I became close friends with the drummer over the years. And they already had a few gigs, regular gigs that they were doing.
Yeah.
Scout huts, parties, tennis clubs, all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Of course, they're the sort of venues, particularly at that time, but I mean, for most bands that are starting out, they're the places that you cut your teeth anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
And amongst your peer group, maybe the odd pair would turn up there to sort of keep an eye on things. But, I mean, wonderful times to have been making music, and you continued to play for the next 8 years or so before another pivotal moment that I read in your bio was when you turned professional in '74, and the lead up to that was that what made you decide that was this is my future, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, the lead up to that was all of 1973. When that first band came to an end, I can't remember the reasons why now. Mists of time, a long time ago. But the singer and the bass player from that band, they got involved with another band that had a residency in Blackpool called the Beer Keller, and they were working 6 nights a week there. And once again, their guitar player went, and they thought of me. And this was February 1973. I started working with them, had a great time. We were playing 6 nights a week. So you really get in your chops in,
Yeah, for sure.
And the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I was just, again, soaking it all up, having a great time. And so 1973 whizzed by, and then the gig came to an end, I think, April of the following year. And then the opportunity to go fully professional happened that year.
Oh, marvellous. And what was the band or what was the project that you got involved with to enable you to do that?
It was a residency at the Mecca Ballroom in Blackpool.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Playing
a very famous place, And of course Mecca was quite a big name on the entertainment scene at the time, wasn't it? You know?
Yeah, it was a national chain of ballrooms up and down the country.
Yeah,
all over the place. It was a good grounding. It wasn't really what I wanted to be doing, but I just wanted to get out of the print trade. I was a compositor, a typesetter.
Do you know, that's interesting, just to butt in there, but Mike and I, unbeknownst to each other, both had the same starts.
That's right.
In the same industry, because I was a compositor as well. Not a very good one, I might add. 2 left feet for hands doesn't make for a good compositor, but you know, the fact we were in it, and I decided to get out of the printing to do music. So I have an affinity with Mike in that respect. That Mecca contact and that must have enabled you to work a long time as a professional to start with. It must have been a great grounding, as you said, but also an opportunity to really stretch yourself.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, because every situation brings different challenges.
Yeah.
And in the Mecca band, the ultimate challenge was learning to read music, which I had to get that together pretty sharpish. For the most part, when I first got the gig with the band leader took me on because he liked my playing. He knew that I didn't read music, but he knew I had a good ear for music.
Yeah.
So I could go home with a cassette given to me from him, and I could learn stuff and get it together for the next rehearsal.
Yeah.
We used to have a rehearsal once a week.
Right.
So it was based on what was doing well in the charts.
Sure.
So we probably had 3-4 new numbers each week.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So
of that period, I just butt in just to give people an idea of the sort of songs that might have been playing at the time. I mean, can you remember any specific ones that, for instance, that you wouldn't necessarily have chosen to play that you had to learn, just as a sort of give you an idea of the sort of breadth of material that he might have had access to at the time?
Yeah, I can. I'm trying not to.
So I can imagine, yeah. Kung Fu Fighting, I think, comes to mind. I would imagine you had to play that.
That is one that I'm trying to forget.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Billy, Don't Be a Hero.
Oh yes, Paper Lace. Whatever happened to them, eh?
My God, there was some bland stuff out in that time.
But there was also a lot of other good stuff. I mean, you know, there was Barry White making great records at that time. And, you know, some of the soul and early disco stuff. Oh yeah.
My First, My Last, My Everything.
Yeah, great record.
Yeah, we did that.
Still fills the floors to this day.
The bass player in the band loved playing that one.
Yeah.
I could see why. But the rhythm part was nice to play as well.
I keep bringing the point up about grounding and scope and variety, because it's been apparent to me from reading both your bio and knowing you as I do that scope has been invaluable to you over the years of your ability to be able to latch on to any kind of genre and get the best out of it for you and for the people you work with, even if in your heart of hearts it's not something you'd necessarily have chosen to play, but you always approach it with such a professional and such an earnest way of doing it. It's admirable, really. I mean,
well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
I'm more aware of it now when I look back on it. When it was all going on at the time, and I was always very busy, you do that, right, move on, we do this now, and you don't really have time to think about it in those terms.
No, not at all.
But yeah, I agree with you. When I look back on it, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that I had that ability to be able to adapt to different styles, and it was very enjoyable as well.
I think you say luck, only yes, true that luck's involved, but I think there's also an innate talent there that you have to accept is in you, and you know that's apparent to anybody that's seen you play. You know, in whatever you do. You know, so that period with the Mecca bands, I noticed on your CV kind of ran out around about 83, I believe.
That's correct.
Yeah, and then you moved permanently to London after you'd had a gig at the Café de Paris, which is some pretty, standout place to want to be playing music, even if it's not necessarily the music you wanted to play. It looks good on the LCV, you know.
Well, that was a whole. Even though it was still part of the Mecca franchise, that musically that was a completely different experience to the few Mecca ballrooms that I played in the northwest of England. We were resident at the one in Blackpool, then we went to Southport, and then we went on to Liverpool, and then I moved in '78 to the West End, and got the job playing with the Café de Paris band, and that was a whole different style of music. It was much more traditional dance band stuff. It was like going back in time, really. And in that context, it was quite an education.
Yeah. Talking of education, and jumping forward a little bit, but it's very important to what you do. Is you've been a guitar teacher for best part of 40 years?
Yeah.
And that enables you to see. I mean, in all that time, is there anybody that you've given lessons to or taught that you've seen gone on to do anything particularly?
Not too many, but there's one girl who I taught since she was a little girl, and now she's going off to university this year, and she's got her own band. I've been to a few gigs. I've even sat in with them and played with them, and that is a real joy for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And for her parents as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's
her parents are lovely,
and that's the fruits of your labour. It's the reward for investing in those people doing what you do. And seeing the rewards come back your way, it's a very satisfying feeling.
It is. Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
The London scene that you entered in '83, after you'd finished at the Café de Paris, I would imagine was quite a lively scene at that time. Although I know it wasn't the heyday of the what they called the London pub rock scene. There was still a lot of musicians around there and gigs still to be played, you know.
Yeah.
So, what was the first thing you did after you'd left the Café de Paris? What sort of direction did you end up going in down there?
Well, there was one more dance band that I went with after the Café de Paris.
Okay.
And that entailed a summer season at Bognor Regis holiday camp.
Yes.
Funky.
Only the heights. Only the heights. Nothing against Bognor Regis. It's a lovely place. Don't get me wrong.
By the time that summer season was over, September 1984, I decided that was it. I'm done with the dance band scene. It's been great, but it's 10 years on now, 1974, 1984.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I thought, move on and start doing gigs for a tenner. You've got to start somewhere.
Hasn't changed.
So that's what I did. I left in September 1984, and the first band I joined, I auditioned with a jump jive band.
Oh, great!
Kit Packham and his Sudden Jump Band.
Oh yeah, I know Kit Packham.
And I fell in with them and got on great with them all. Nice guys. And I was with that band for just over a year.
Brilliant.
And while I was with that band, I was picking up other bits of freelance work as well. One was with a singer from your part of the world, Jenny Darren.
I know Jenny.
I did a lot of work with Jenny.
Yeah.
We did Ronnie Scott's a couple of times. We did we had a 2 weeks run at Ronnie Scott's.
Wonderful.
Which was a nice experience. And just generally building up freelance contacts. Yeah,
that's. I mean, we came crossed each other's paths in '87.
That's right. Summer '87,
and we had a little band called the Messengers. Which the reason I bring this up is because the first time I met Mike, he was playing bass. Now, most people that see us know Mike is a wonderful guitar player, but he's also a wonderful bass player. And did that kind of the bass side of things? Did that open even more doors for you, from a work point of view, and with sort of luminaries as well that I believe you worked with?
Luckily, it did.
Yeah,
it did. People seemed to like my bass playing, and I was getting lots of calls. Which was nice. That was good. And We have a mutual, Paul and I have a mutual friend called Richard Simmons, keyboard player.
Yeah.
Good all round egg, and he approached me, gave me a call about coming down to Dover Street Wine Bar in Mayfair. They needed a bass player, so I went along and played a few tunes with them. They still had their bass player at the moment at that point in time, but they just wanted to see if I liked it and if they liked me, and we did like each other, and I started working with them on a regular basis.
And that
I think it was about once or twice a month, something like that.
How many years did you do that for? Can you remember?
Yes, I can. It was, let me see, it was late 1986 through to about May 1989.
Oh, yeah, so it was about 3 years.
Yeah, knocking on
That's
that.
good,
Yeah.
But during that period, one of the first major gigs, and I say that with all sort of sincerity, was you ended up working with Mr. Georgie Fame, who is a legend, as you know. People.
I did, and that opportunity arose from working at Dover Street Wine Bar. The guy who was running the band, who is an old friend of mine, he was a guitar player, Max Britton, great jazz guitar player. There was a gig happening over in South Wales, Pembroke. That's it, Pembroke.
Pembroke, yes.
And they needed a bass player, and Max said, "Do you fancy doing it? It's with Georgie Fame." I said, "Yeah, great."
Yeah.
So we did the gig. Georgie liked what we all did, and about a year later, he rang me himself for a little theatre gig up in North London somewhere. I can't remember where it was now. More gigs followed after that. We're into 1989 now, and I did a lot of gigs with him in 1989 and quite a lot with him in 1990. I was never his regular guy, but I became like his first call if he needed a bass player, and that was very nice. And that went on from 1988 to 2003.
That's impressive to be in the book for somebody of that note, knowing what an amazing musician he is, and probably a reasonably strict taskmaster, I would imagine, as a band leader.
He knows what he wants.
I was going to say, he's the sort of guy that knows what he wants. To be able to stick around that long is a testament to you, again, your ability to be able to buckle down and do the job that somebody wants you to do, whatever the style of music, including, I might add, some far more mainstream, what I would call middle-of-the-road entertainers that Mike has been lucky enough to work with. But he's told me stories about his time with Val Doonican. Most people say, Val Doonican is a very talented man, and he's a very good all-round entertainer. And you told me a funny story once about what he called his fans. What were they called? You said this is quite funny.
It's a group of women of a certain age, and they'd turn up at gigs all over the country at the stage door, and they were known as the Doonatics.
That's fantastic. Because the image you have of Val as sitting there on a rocking chair with a sweater on, singing comfy little songs is one, but he's actually a very good musician as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's a
good guitar player.
Yeah.
We did an Irish tour, which I had a great time, and he sold out theatres all the way from the north, Londonderry down to Limerick, and all over, all sold out, and we had a great time. And Val and I, we had a little jam one night after the gig. There was a lovely little artist bar. It was in the Gaiety Theatre in Dublin, and they've got this artist bar. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Best Guinness in Ireland. And we've just got our guitars out. There was a luthier came to see the show, and he wanted to see if Val was interested in buying one of these guitars. And Val invited me to join the conversation, and he had 2 of these guitars, and so Val and I played together, just jamming.
Wonderful.
Just playing some Les Paul stuff,
Yeah.
you know, How High the Moon, and it was great fun.
Yeah.
Great fun.
I mean, you know, to see the name on
And
the
I
CD.
didn't pay for any drinks.
Yeah, well, no. Yeah, their generosity is renowned, you know. But what I'm also struck by with when I read your bio, all of the variety of your work is phenomenal, you know. But to go from playing bass with Val Doonican to playing guitar for a soul legend called William Bell, it just tells me, you know, is there nothing this man can do? You know, as we make a joke, is there no end to this guy's talent? You know,
I just love music.
I know, and that's it's
very simple,
so obviously apparent. You know, when anybody watches you play, there's a joy there that is, you know, and a warmth, and
I love the whole thing. I love rehearsing.
Yeah,
I love watching it. I love listening to it. I love talking about it. I slightly like guitars, as you know.
Yes, only slightly.
So it's been my life, you know, from the get go. Even before I was doing gigs, when I got my first guitar and I was learning it, I had all these visions in my head where I wanted to be with it. So it was all going on up there before I was actually doing it. If that makes sense.
I think people with a musical bent, that's often the case. I mean, I fantasised about being in bands when I was younger, and used to make up imaginary album covers and stuff like this, without ever dreaming that it would become the real thing, and which it did. But that's not about me today. Now, I have to talk about William Bell because, you know, this is a man who wrote for the aficionados there, Born Under a Bad Sign, and also You Don't Miss Your Water, and of course the classic Private Number. And you got to play all of those with him, didn't you?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It must have been wonderful.
There's another one of his hits that's a great song. I Forgot to Be Your Lover.
Yeah, I Forgot to Be Your Lover.
Beautiful.
Which was covered, oddly enough, by Billy Idol. Strangely enough, yeah, he did a cover of that. But it wasn't. It was more like Billy Idol than it was William Bell. But it was there, you know. And Cream did Born Under a Bad Sign. So you know, I think he's made a few bob out of his songs, and rightly so. He deserves to, because he was wonderful. And now I noticed on this CV that period started in about 2000 to about 2001 to something like that to start with.
Yes.
And then you went back with him again in 2017 for some more shows in Europe and Scandinavia and Italy and Spain and places like this.
Yeah, I think there was another little spell as well. There was 2000, 2001. That's when we went out to Italy.
Yeah.
I think. Oh yeah, there was a Cleethorpes Northern Soul Festival. I can't remember when that was. It was in the 90s sometime.
Yeah.
It might have been 97, 98, something like that. But every time I saw William and worked with him, we got on really well and had a good time. I think he liked what I did.
Yeah.
I guess he must have done, or else he wouldn't have had me back.
Yeah, exactly.
Scandinavia was great, really good. We got to see, or in my case, I got to see Finland, which I've never been to before or since. That was really interesting. All the Scandinavian countries. It was great.
This is the great thing about being a top musician, is you get to take your work and what you do to the world, not through just a screen here, but physically as well. I mean, we're kind of blessed that we've both travelled the world doing what we love. And Mike has worked with, you know, some luminaries of legendary stature. And for a while there, he was also in a band called Bloodwind Pig, who you played bass with.
I did, yeah.
And of course, that were formed by Mick Abrams, who was the original guitar player with Jethro Tull, did the album called This Was. And from there, they fell out because of musical directions, which is often the case. And Mick went off and formed Bloodwind Pig. And then you joined them in the early 90s?
Yeah, 91,
91,
I think it
that's
was,
right, yeah. And you were there for about 9 years, if I remember rightly.
I left the band in 1999.
Yeah.
And the reason why I left the band was I wanted to take the opportunity to play more guitar.
Yeah.
Which was down to you.
Yeah,
kindly.
well, yeah. Shucks, it weren't nothing. But well, it became apparent to me when Mike was constantly mentioned to me when the various bands that we worked in. When the first one I had was Soul Intention, Paul Cox, Soul Intention. Now, what happened there was the original guitar player, a wonderful guitar player called Mark Simpkins, also had his own band, but he wanted to push. And it became apparent that he needed to play his own furrow, and do his own thing. And Mike was recommending it. And I said, yeah, but he's a bass player. They said, no, he's a great guitar player as well. Okay. And as they say, the rest is history. Because it's so apparent, when I heard him play, I said, have you been hiding? And that coincided. I mean, I don't want to take any credit for that, Mike. I'm sure there were other opportunities for you to play guitar with other people other than anything I might have suggested. But, when you decided to go back to, I've had enough of this, I want to play guitar, was that a harder area to break into as when you went back on guitar as it was for when you were a bass player, for instance?
No, not really. No. Because I started working with you and the various bands that you were running and still running.
Yeah.
So that in itself was very fulfilling and enjoyable.
Yeah.
It still is.
Yeah.
And as word was getting around that I play guitar, not guitar as well, but guitar. Odd little things came in as well.
Yeah, and that's, of course, when we just mentioned William Bell, it was guitar that you played with William, which it was wonderful, and I've seen the clips. It's
just coming back to Val just briefly.
Oh yeah.
I played guitar and bass with Val.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
not at the same time.
Yes. That's great.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought with Val it was just bass, but now you mentioned it, that would make sense.
Yeah.
And
I started out playing guitar in Val's band, but then I think Max, my friend who I'm decking for in Val's band, Max put a good word into Val and Val's agent that I was a good bass player as well.
Yeah.
So I got called upon for that as well.
Well, variety is the spice of life.
Well, yeah, I've always thrived off that.
Yeah.
I always loved variety.
Yeah, and that's quite apparent in also the music that Mike has sent me. Which with this series, I always ask people to send 5 tracks, whatever they might be in relation to their careers. Whether they're just personal favourites, things they've worked on, or whatever. And Mike's variety, as he mentioned there, is so apparent in the 5 tracks he's chosen, which I should be putting links to in the description. Unfortunately, due to copyright issues, I'm not allowed to play them, but I will put the links to the tracks in the description underneath the video when it's finished. And also, just to do a bit of shopkeeping, as they say, please subscribe to the channel. My name is just Paul Cox, so please subscribe. And one other thing I'd like to mention, we mentioned that Mike and I were in a band together and still are, called Paul Cox and Soul Intention, and that is doing a big show in Carshalton at a theatre called the Crier Arts Centre on July the 4th. Tickets are available. Go to their website, the Crier Arts Centre in Carshalton. Please come along. It's a 7-piece soul band show and featuring material from some of my albums and some soul classics. It's a great night. People have always said how wonderful it is, so please come along. Don't miss out. And due to the constraints of time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to sort of slowly wrap this up. But before we go, Mike, are you still loving it as much as you've always done?
Yeah.
Great. Because
absolutely, yeah.
That seems so apparent to me when we work together and times I've seen you work with other people as well. Are there any ambitions left for you?
To get a helicopter?
That's a good one. Yeah.
No, I think the point I'm labouring towards is I think the one thing that every musician gets tired of is transportation.
Yes, I know, don't we just? Yeah. Parking. Yeah, that's another one that we know only too well. Yeah.
But do I still have any ambitions? Yeah, I just want to keep getting better.
Yeah.
Those are my main ambitions. I just want to keep getting better. I'm still a student.
Well, that's a wonderful way to look at it, because for me, he's one of the finest guitar players I know. And he's also a wonderful friend and a great egg. Tells wonderful stories. And hopefully, people, we've shared some with you today to give you an insight into Mike and his life and his story as a musician. And I was to say, I'll put the links down the bottom to the tracks he's chosen. But type the name in just on online, and there's plenty of stuff out there about Mike Summerland that I haven't touched on already, and some of the albums and some of the people he's worked with that we haven't had time to talk about today. And there's a lot of stuff that we haven't had a chance to touch on. Perhaps we'll do a part 2 another day. But in the meantime, Michael, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And people, I'll see you on the next edition of
Bye
Unsung
all.
Heroes. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.